Hello and welcome to episode 69 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet and making all the things here in northwest London. You can find me on Instagram at hippie_Nikki, and now that February is over I am back on Instagram, though I don't think I've posted anything yet, but I am back to using it. I am Nikki Hippie on Ravelry, and if you search for Tea and Possibilities under the groups tab, you will find our group right there. As always, I will link to everything and anything that I mention in the box below, but if you would like juicier show notes, you will be able to find them on my blog, and a link to that will be just down there as well. I would like to kick off, as I always do, with a massive thank you. Thank you to any new viewers. I really appreciate you giving the podcast a shot. And to my returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back episode after episode. Today's tea is in another Christmas mug. This is my villainous and fabulous Disney mug that was a gift from a friend who I believe was trying to tell me that I'm a little bit too nice sometimes and I need to dig deep and find my inner Maleficent. So yeah, we've got the Queen from Snow White. I don't know what her name is. Ursula from The Little Mermaid, who I love. She's so awesome. And Maleficent, who I'm very, very attached to. I really enjoyed the Maleficent live action film, and I still haven't seen the second one, but I should do that. Maybe that's what I'll do later. I'll put that on. This tea was not made for me. My nan made this. She was brewing up a cup of tea, so she made me one, and so it is Earl Grey, because that is the tea that lives downstairs. This cupboard here, just out of shot, has an entire shelf full of teas. So when other people make me tea, it's usually Earl Grey because that's what's downstairs, and when I make tea, it's usually raided from the cupboard. It's good though. There's something about when other people make you tea. When someone hands you a cup of tea, a good cup of tea, nothing like it. But it has been a little bit of time, so let's dive straight in to Whipped Up. We are going to start a little bit unusually this episode with what am I wearing, because I am actually wearing two hand knits. They're not hand knit by me, spoiler alert. We all know, if you've tuned into any number of episodes, we all know I'm not a fantastic garment knitter. I am trying, but I think that garment knitting is something that takes a lot of practice. I'm not very good at finishing large projects, and I don't always choose the right patterns and yarn and colour combinations. However, someone who does is Amy Florence of the Stranded podcast and Stranded Dye Works. And a few of you guessed correctly that when I said I was going to Scotland, I was going to see Amy, and I went with Katie of Inside Number 23. And while we were there, I just sort of acquired some of Amy's knitwear. So first up, which I don't think you can see, so I'm going to stand up to give you a better view. We have the Insouciant tee, and this is by Julie Hoover, and I believe Amy said this was knit out of a silk blend, but this is, I'm going to take my cardigan off. This is a really lovely t-shirt. It's nice and flowy. It's probably a little bit bigger than I would have knit for myself, so that's good to know, because this has been on my queue for a little while and I do want to knit it. So I would knit this size, which I need to check in with Amy what size it was, but I could also check on the actual garment, because this is so nice. It's nice and loose in the arms, it's nice and loose in the body, and it's nice and long. I would probably just knit it maybe an inch or so longer, and I can't tiptoe any higher than that. But it does cover the hips and bum area, but I would probably make it maybe an inch, half an inch longer. The other item that I'm wearing is the Rosemont tee by Hannah Fettig, and this I'm almost certain Amy said was knit out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, and it is gorgeous. I would definitely buy a sweater's quantity of this. It is absolutely lovely. It's a good length. Again, I can't tiptoe high enough, but it's just, there's the bottom. It's a nice length, it's a good colour, really versatile colour. I've worn it to work a few times. It does have a little bit of a kind of slidey thing off my shoulders, but I find if I just, you know, pull it up, it sits quite nicely, and I don't mind kind of tugging it back up through the day. That's absolutely fine with me. I am wearing it because it's the 1st of March and it is a little bit nippy. So it's not quite warm enough just to wear the insouciant tee. But I love these two items. I love them both together. I would definitely wear this outfit out. I would maybe even wear it to work. I think this with a nice pair of jeans would be quite nice for work. It's just, I'm wearing leggings today because it's a stay-at-home day, and I was out for my birthday last night, and I am filming a little bit later because I did sleep in quite a bit, and I'm just looking to be cozy and comfy today. So there you go, a brand new addition to the podcast in What Am I Wearing? Don't get used to it. Maybe I'll do it again next year. But yeah, these, as I said, have both been in my queue for a really long time, and now wearing them, I've got more of an appreciation for which size I would want to knit, for how I would wear them, for the fact that I would wear them, which is a very important element to consider, because I don't really wear my pavement that much. I absolutely adore the yarn, and it's a great shaped sweater, but I don't really wear it because I can only really wear it with jeans. There's only kind of one option for it. And I like to have a lot more options than that with the things in my wardrobe. So for example, the Rosemont I'm wearing now with the insouciant tee, I've worn with a shirt, I have worn with a dress. So there's a lot of options for this, and the insouciant tee I can wear, as I said, with leggings, with jeans. I can dress it up, I can dress it down, and I don't really have that availability with the pavement. So I tend to kind of wear the pavement around the house a lot more than out. But there we go, I am learning all the time, and I am learning from my friends, which is fantastic. We are going to kick off actual whips this week with a bit of a faux fail, and I will show you why. Well, I'll show you and see if you can guess. I haven't woven in the ends on this hat, but you can probably see the problem. This is the Onion Johnny's hat by Celine Leroux. It is knit out of a Busy Life yarn DK, and it is in roasted marshmallow, which I showed on the podcast a few episodes ago, and I talked about what a beautiful neutral it was and how I was going to knit it into a hat because I needed a new hat, wanted a new hat, and yeah, I thought this would be a great neutral yarn. Now, I knit the Caswell Bay by Fiona Alice last year, which is a hat that I absolutely love. It's very, very beautiful, and I was going to do the matching mitts to go with it. But unfortunately, it's a very, very tight hat. And as you can see, I have very, very straight hair. I have very smooth hair, very flat hair. Volume is not here. Volume doesn't live here. So when I wear a hat that's quite tight, I find that it just kind of squishes my hair to my head. So the hair that's out kind of hangs. And then when I take it off, I end up kind of poof on top. So my go-to hat has always been the little grey hat that my nan has knit me multiple times. And what I like about that is that it looks good with my hair down, but there's enough room in the hat that I can put my hair in a bun and put the hat over it, which means that when I go out on a windy day, my hair is tucked away and not getting tangled. And I don't really have that space in the Caswell Bay hat. So what I was looking for, in a nutshell, after blathering on, is a hat that was similar, that would have that same space inside. And I was going to knit the grey hat that my nan had previously knit me, but I thought, let me try something else. And I loved this pattern because in the pictures, it's a beret style. It's got this lovely cable down one side. So it's a really quick and easy knit, but with a little bit of interest. And this is the largest size. And do forgive the ends, but as you can see, it's very much a beanie style on me, and this is fine. I could keep this, but this is not what I want. It hasn't got the space in it to put my hair up. I mean, I'm going to demonstrate. My hair just goes fluffed up, and if I'd had that on for any significant period of time, I would have taken my hat off, and what very little volume I've got would be gone. So I am going to give this away. A friend of mine has a 4.5, the half is very important, a 4.5-year-old daughter who I think this will fit, so I'm going to weave in the ends, block it, and pop it in the post this week. I don't really know what went wrong here. I assume that I misread the pattern. I cast this on the train up to Scotland. It was my social knitting, so I can only assume that I have misread the pattern in some way. I didn't do a gauge swatch. I tend not to do a gauge swatch for accessories, so that's on me. So I genuinely don't know if it was me or the pattern, but I'm assuming in the circumstances that it was me. But it's going to make a small person very, very happy. I'm happy to have this off of the needles because it has been languishing on the needles for a little while. So yeah, I'm just glad to have a faux finished, really. That does leave a little gap in my accessories wardrobe for a new hat. And I was considering buying the yarn to knit a hat I've always had. That I know fits, that I know works. And then I used my Ravelry stash tab and did a quick filter to see if I had any DK yarn, and I do. I knit the Caswell Bay by Fiona Alice out of Madeline Tosh DK, I believe, in a, I can't remember what the name of the colourway was, but it was a purple, and I did buy a second skein to make the matching wristers, and I never got round to it. It is my last skein of Mad Tosh. It was the last one I bought before I decided that actually I wasn't going to buy any more Madeline Tosh for various reasons, and it's just been languishing in my stash for a little while, so I think I'm probably going to knit that up into a hat, and we'll see. Next up is something that I was hoping would be a faux this episode, and unfortunately it isn't. But we are a little bit closer to it being a faux. I'm almost halfway through this final row. I have got a few of my Advent yarns left, and then I will dig into some of my minis in order to finish it. I worked on these, I don't know if I've done that one already, but definitely these two I worked on while I was in Wales. I went to visit a friend who is the mother of the 4.5-year-old, and the 4.5-year-old helped me pick the next couple of colours, which is lovely because now these aren't just Advent yarns as from, you know, from my friends, so memories in that way, but they'll also, when I look at them, be like, oh, I remember little Pip helped me choose those, which is really nice. Yeah, I think I just kind of ran out of steam a little bit because I know that it's going to be finished, so I almost don't feel like I have to power through it because there's not much left. I don't understand the logic behind that. If anyone can explain it, please do. But I do want to focus on this a lot more over the coming weeks. Not necessarily because I just want to churn through it to finish it, but I do want it finished, so I do want it to be progressing at least. So yeah, hopefully I won't be showing this too many more times before it is fully finished with all the ends woven in. I do have maybe 3 rows of ends to do, and I think I'm just gonna leave them and do them all at the end, to be honest. But yes, progress. Progress is being made, slowly but surely, but that is how we win races. Now, you will hopefully remember last episode I talked about clearing through my languishing whips. That's why I worked on the Anya and Johnny's hat when I went away. That's why I've done a little bit of work on my cozy squares. And I also said I wanted to work on my hollyberry socks, which have been on the needles since about June or July. And I really wanted to work on those. They're toe up, and I wanted to finish them and kind of go, yes, tick, done toe up. Here is how I feel about it. And I just haven't. Because it is a new technique, and I'm always saying it, but I just don't have the time to sit down and watch a video about it. And the time will come. I will have some time at some point. It is my birthday tomorrow. I have the day off. But unfortunately, due to my late start today, I will be running a 10-mile run on my birthday. That is the gift I'm giving to myself. I mean, I'm going to just go off on this tangent. I have decided that this year I want to do a 10-mile run every month, and my plan had been to do it yesterday, Saturday the 29th, before I went out, and unfortunately the day got away with me, and obviously it's quite a long run and I didn't want to be rushing to go to my birthday shenanigans. So I thought I'll do it this morning, but I got in quite late and I slept in, and now I'm filming. So my February 10 miles will be run on the 2nd of March. But that's fine because it still counts. And February is a really short month anyway, so But yes, when I get back from my 10-mile run tomorrow, maybe I will treat myself to sit down and work on the hollyberry socks. So watch this space. Let's be honest, I probably won't know. But yes, all of that to say that I have been working on a languishing whip. I have cleared one off the needles, and then I cast on something new, because why not? I think I did mention this in the last episode, because I said I didn't have a cuff down vanilla sock for travelling. And I was doing quite a lot of travelling between going to Wales and going to Scotland. So cast on a new sock I did. And here it is. You will probably recognise the yarn. This is Dundee Knit Rainbow by Tiny Human Knits. And this is the contrast cuff, and the heel is West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in their gold. No, it's not in their gold colourway. It is in nutmeg. But I chose this because it is definitely on the gold spectrum in my opinion, and what better contrast to use for a Dundee Knit Rainbow than gold. I am using, as always, my vanilla sock recipe, which I came up with based on the videos by Meanwhile at the Castle. And I really, really love this sock. Isn't it gorgeous? It is so, so lovely. So this is one whole repeat of the rainbow, and I love the flow of the colours. The yarn is beautiful. I cast on the cuff the night before, and I worked on the cuff on the train. It is my new go-to cuff, which is 1x1 twisted rib. I didn't have the skein wound. I was going to wait until I got to Scotland and use Amy's ball winder, but once I had it wound, I could not put it down. I just think this is gorgeous, and I absolutely powered through it. Look, I've finished the gusset decreases, and I am on the foot, so I'm on the home straight. I am hoping to work on this when I see Caroline soon, and that will be full Knitception as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm very, very happy not to be knitting a Christmas sock. I think I'm a tad Christmased out when it comes to sock knitting, and I just think these are gorgeous, and I can't wait to finish them and wear them at some very special event. And that is that for faux and whips this week. We very nearly had a hoe, but not quite, so maybe next time. But that is it for the actual making. So I should probably tell you who won that giveaway. Now, if you saw last episode, I mentioned that because of my woeful lack of knitting content, I had spoken to the lovely people at Love Knitting where I used to work, and I'm still friends with a lot of people who still work there. Absolutely lovely people, and they offered a giveaway. So I chose 10 balls of Paintbox DK. I chose a lovely rainbow spectrum, and I asked what would you knit with it if you were to win it. And I think I had about 82 replies on the thread, which is crazy. So thank you so much for entering. And the winner is, as chosen by random number generator, is post 45, and that is Heather Ann Hops. So if you would like to drop me a DM on Ravelry, I will then pass on your address, please include your address in that DM. I will pass on your address to the people at Love Knitting, who will send out your prize as soon as possible. I also want to say a big thank you to everyone in that thread. I was skimming through it on the bus to work most mornings. It is a very, very busy time in the university recruitment calendar, so I have been, as always, very busy, and just scrolling through that thread and reading some of your ideas and the stories behind them. Just beautiful. So thank you. A lot of people shared some very personal stories, and I really, really appreciate that, and I hope that you were all inspired by each other's suggestions and ideas, because I know I was. But now let's move on to knit and natter. So this week I thought I would let you know what I have been up to, because as I mentioned earlier in this episode and last episode, I have been doing a little bit of travelling about. So I'll start with last night, just because that was my birthday night out and I had an absolutely fantastic time. We all, I say we, quite a few of my friends came axe throwing with me, which was brilliant. So if you have the opportunity to try that, I really, really recommend it. It was such good fun, and I was surprisingly not bad at it. I wasn't the best, but I did pretty well, so I was very happy, and I definitely want to go again. I love the film Brave. And I don't know, it just made me feel like a Celtic warrior woman, and it was awesome, and I want to get really good at it, which is probably terrifying for anyone who knows me, but I want to get really good at throwing axes. After that, we did go to a great little cocktail bar in Covent Garden, which had the most bizarre playlist, but we absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. But yes, it did mean that I got home quite late. But I had such a good time, and honestly, I just think I have the best friends in the world. I've talked to some friends about wanting to do some trekking this year, and they bought me some bits and pieces that I would need for that, which is just really thoughtful and supportive and just so sweet. Another friend gave me my favourite Lush goodies, which is always welcome. Another friend is taking me out for the day. So we're gonna have a chat about what we kind of want to do. So rather than have more stuff, have some experiences and some time together, which I think is just lovely. And then some other friends banded together to get me tickets to see David Tennant in Good at the end of the year. So this November, I will be seeing David Tennant in the play Good, and I cannot wait because it's David Tennant, and you all know how I feel about David Tennant. As do they, which is why they got me tickets. None of them are a fan. The play is a very good one, so hopefully that will help make up for it. But yeah, I came away from the evening just like, wow, you know, no matter what else happens in my life, I just have the most awesome friends. So that's pretty cool. And speaking of friends, that's who I have been visiting. So I went to Wales to see a friend of mine from university, who I haven't seen in person since 2016, which is absolutely bonkers. We talk quite regularly. We're still very, very good friends. We're very close. It's just, she lives in Wales and I live in London, and it's just one of those things that you keep going, oh, we should get together, you should come and stay, and then I'm free but she's not free, and vice versa. So we made it happen this year, and it was just lovely because she has a beautiful home. They're such a welcoming family, and her daughter, who I finally met in person, is just an absolute dream. She is whip smart, she's so funny, and yeah, I'm very happy to send her a hat because she is a cool kid. The only problem was I had taken my walking boots with me because, you know, like I said, I want to do trekking. I love a good walk, and they live in Wales, and every other time I've gone to visit them, we have had a fantastic time walking. We've climbed the Skirrid and things like that. But unfortunately, Storm Dennis had other ideas, and it rained from the moment I got there on Friday until there was about a 15-20 minute window on the Sunday morning when it didn't rain, and then it rained again. And on Sunday we were kind of sat watching the news going, oh no, there was so much flooding. Like the flooding in Wales at the beginning of February was absolutely horrendous. It was awful. So many people's houses and homes were destroyed, businesses were destroyed, and you know, people were killed. It was absolutely horrendous. So we decided that rather than catch the later train that I'd been intending to, we were gonna go earlier, because not so much worry about the trains, but worries that like we physically wouldn't be able to get to the station, or they wouldn't be able to get home again. So I did have to leave a little bit earlier, which was a bit sad, because obviously when you haven't seen someone in that long, you want to kind of maximize your time with them. But yeah, it was amazing. And you know, to anyone who's never been to Wales, I do recommend it. It is an absolutely beautiful country. There's so many beautiful walks to go on, and it's also a really creative place. So we did head out on the Saturday morning, and we went to, I believe it was in Abergavenny, but I could be wrong, so please don't quote me on this. But we went to a little chapel that had been turned into kind of an art space, and they also did brunch. And honestly, the food was amazing. It was so good, and the coffee was brilliant too. And then after the coffee, obviously I had tea, and it was some of the most beautiful Earl Grey I'd ever had. It's not got the hustle and bustle. I mean, the hustle and bustle isn't even the words to describe London, because it's mad here. But it has got a really low-key energy where it's so creative and artistic, and people are really interesting. So yeah, I really recommend going to Wales. Just try not to go during a storm. The following weekend, I took the Friday and the following Monday off to go and see Amy in Scotland, and I haven't seen Amy since I think last summer, maybe at Unravel even? No, I think I've seen her since. Anyway, because Amy lives fairly far away from me anyway, I hadn't seen her in a while, and now she's moved even further away to Scotland. So Katie and I took the opportunity to head up to Scotland and see her new home, and we just had the best time. It did rain, but there wasn't a storm worthy of a name, which is great. We had a stroll down to the beach, and that was gorgeous, and we just hung out a lot. We did some walks, we did a lot of knitting, we watched a lot of Escape to the Chateau, which it turns out we're all pretty obsessed with. I hung out a lot with Not My Cat, who it turns out, really, really nice cat. I'm more of a dog person, as I believe I've mentioned before on the podcast, but you know, I could get used to cats. You know, when I'm living on my own, I think a cat is probably the better option than a dog, and you know, I'm warming to that idea, I really am. And it was just fantastic to hang out, the three of us again. We get on so well, and it's just good energy, and it was really, really chilled. And considering the kind of mad time I'm having at work at the moment, we're having a lot of open evenings and open days, and it can get very, very busy, and it doesn't really give me much slow time during the day. So it was absolutely fantastic to spend a really, really slow few days with them. And I learnt to spin. That's probably stretching it, but I had a go at spinning. So I had a go on Amy's, I think she called it a castle wheel, but like a proper spinning wheel with like the treadles. I probably shouldn't do that with the tea in my hand, but you kind of work the treadles and your hands. I found that quite tricky. I'm not somebody, I have terrible coordination, which is awful because my mother was like a dancer. So I definitely didn't inherit that from her. And I can't really do pat your head, rub your tummy. So kind of getting my feet to go and my hands to do something else was making my brain hurt a little bit. So then I had to go on the e-spinner, and Amy was incredibly patient and kept explaining it to me in like a different way each time, because she was like, okay, that didn't click, let's try a different way. And then it clicked, it just clicked. And I mean, it wasn't very good yarn, but I made yarn, and it was just, oh, it made me so happy. I absolutely love trying new things, and I have no kind of fear of being a bit rubbish at stuff, because what's the worst that can happen? But when you have that click moment, it makes being a bit rubbish totally worth it. So obviously I did then look up an e-spinner. They are about £500, which is a little bit out of the budget considering some of the travelling that I want to do this year and other things I need to get. I need to get a new phone, for example. So it's there in the back of my mind that I would quite like one, and I have mentioned it to my family that this year, maybe just get me money for Christmas at the end of the year, because I will buy an e-spinner with it. So there we go. It has been a pretty eventful month for me. It hasn't been a very busy knitty month, but I have got things done. I have got more done than in last episode, and for that we can be grateful. But yeah, I'm just feeling really, really good about the year ahead. Feeling very hopeful about some things, and I'm really looking forward to sharing more of that as they come up. I have done, I'm going to be honest, I have done a list of 20 things to do in 2020, and I haven't shared it, not just because I wasn't on Instagram, but because there's some stuff on there that means a lot to me and potentially won't come off for various reasons, and it's just not something I want to share publicly just yet. I kind of feel like when things mean that much to you, you should kind of bring them in as much as possible, and just, instead of sharing energy around them with other people, bring that energy in and use it to drive the thing forward. And I have no idea if that made any sense whatsoever. But there is, just to say, there is a lot going on in the background, and I have a lot of plans to make it a good year. So keep an eye out on the podcast, because Knit and Natter will hopefully have more info about that as I've done them. But in the meantime, thank you very much for stopping by. I will hopefully be back in a couple of weeks, depending on the schedule, because I do have a couple of weekends that I need to work. But I do hope you have a lovely knitty couple of weeks, and I will see you very soon for another cup of tea. Take care. Bye.